Hi, my name's Eamonn Carey. I'm one of the directors of Urban, a media company based in Dubai. We work on content and apps and strategy and various different things for clients in the Middle East and elsewhere around the world. This is a presentation that I gave at the Third International Arab E-Tourism and E-Marketing Conference in Egypt just before Christmas this year. It's based all around mobile and social applications and how they're being used in a tourism setting by operators, by travel agents, hotels, airlines, and how you or your brand or your agency or your country can use them. So to start with, we'll look back a little bit and say, people were used to traveling with guidebooks and maps and different things, and that era is dying out a little bit. Okay, so I think what people are starting to realize now is that the era of carrying around a guidebook or maps or various different things like that is coming to a close. The future is always on, it's portable, it's always in your pocket, it's a mobile phone. And whether that's an iPhone, an Android device, a Nokia device, a tablet, an iPad, anything like that, this is the way that the world is moving. So if you look at the way that the people used to travel, when I went traveling after college, you would have a massive backpack where you would have maybe not three cameras, but certainly one or two. You would be carrying around your guidebook, your maps, your different phones, all of these different elements that you had to remember. Perhaps not necessarily knitting, but you could carry around whatever you wanted. Nowadays, a lot of those elements can be found on an iPhone or mobile device or a tablet. So you can have your guidebook in the form of an application. Your maps are obviously Google Maps or Bing Maps or Nokia Maps or Ovi Maps. You can read your book on your iPad. You can watch movies. In place of knitting, you can go fishing on your iPhone, or you can play some Angry Birds or whatever you would actually want to do. So the way that people are traveling is changing, and phones are facilitating this. So we should look at some facts and figures just to illustrate how big this market is getting and how popular it's going to become. So the iPad is the big hot device at the moment. It's what a lot of people are talking about. Tablet computing is being looked at as the future of multiple industries, from news to travel to various different ones. So to show you how popular that is, iPads were selling 40,000 a day in 2010. Some people are forecasting that they're going to sell more than 11 million in 2011, and that's just iPads. That doesn't include, Samsung Galaxy Tabs or any of the other Android tablets, any of the Windows mobile tablets that are going to come out this year, the Hewlett Packard WebOS tablets that are going to come out this year as well. So an absolutely massive increase in a part of a slice of the computing world that effectively didn't exist up until the iPad came out. If you look at this, is a Samsung Nexus S. It's one of the more recent Google Android phones. Android were activating 300,000 handsets a day in 2010. Some people forecasting that they're going to sell more than 100 million handsets in 2011. Part of that is because there's so many manufacturers using Android, and obviously they're going to be a lot cheaper than iPhone devices as well. So the era of sub $100 smartphone devices is, if not already upon us, coming up very, very quickly. The iPhone 4, massively popular, obviously. Again, 250,000 plus iOS devices being sold per day in 2010. iOS devices includes iPod touches, but we can imagine, again, when the iPhone 5 comes out in a couple of months' time, that's obviously going to kick that number up a little bit more again. And the type of people who are buying these devices are people who have a reasonable amount of disposable income and are therefore, valuable target market for different people to look at. Also, lest we forget, BlackBerry, 11.9 million devices sold last year, and the elephant in the room that a lot of people sometimes forget is Nokia, which sold more than 400 million devices last year. Now, granted, not all of those would have been smartphones or what they call feature phones. Some of them would have been a bit more basic, but still massive market share in huge swathes of the world. For example, in India, they don't even call mobile phones or cell phones. They just refer to them as Nokia, regardless of the brand. So huge brand equity for Nokia. Really interesting announcement earlier today about Nokia and Microsoft partnering. So Windows Phone software is going to be on all new Nokia phones coming out over the next while, and it'll be interesting to see how that develops. So these are some figures from Gartner from last year, all about smartphone sales and feature phone sales, as Nokia would call them. So over 100 million Nokia phones sold, 71 million Samsung phones sold, 27 million LG phones sold. So it just goes to show you that despite the fact that Apple might get the largest amount of publicity in the marketplace, there are other major players. And if you look at Samsung and LG, Sony, Motorola and HTC, they all develop Android phones. So that goes to show some of the reasoning behind why they expect so many Android phones to be sold over the next year. And there are some suggestions that the new Research in Motion, who are the guys who produced the BlackBerry, their new Playbook tablet is going to run Android applications. So absolutely massive numbers of phones, smartphones being sold in 2010, and no reason to think that that won't be the case going forward into 2011, 2012, 2013, especially as I mentioned earlier, as those handsets start to get a little bit cheaper. Well, what are people doing with this? So let's take a look at some examples of different applications that allow people to access different bits of information or do different things using their mobile phone. So this is an application that the Fairmont hotel chain have released for iPhone. It allows you to browse through their destinations and get information about the hotel. Okay, so you can check availability, you can book a room, okay, you can check out your current reservations, make changes to that. The President's Club is their loyalty or rewards card, so you can check into that and see how many points you have, what do you need to do to get an upgrade, and so forth. Latest packages and sharing stories, again, part of the whole social element of these applications. Destination guides, obviously, to show you where to go and what to do once you get to a destination. And again, a contact form that you can fill in. So if you look, the Fairmont are just one group that are doing this. The Hilton hotel chain have a similar application. Mandarin Oriental have them, and there are a bunch of other people looking at this area. So you can do anything from booking spa treatments to starting to book your room service before you arrive to a hotel. American Airlines are one of multiple, or one of many airlines that are now using applications to allow you to do a whole bunch of different things, from looking at flights that you have booked, checking out again your loyalty program and where you stand within that. Flight status, obviously a very important one. People will remember the chaos that was caused at international airports by the Icelandic volcano in 2010, and the severe weather that we had in Europe and the US in over Christmas and New Year of 2010, 2011. Again, this is another area that a lot of people are starting to look at. Mobile boarding passes in operation in some airports, not accepted obviously in others, but just a very simple way of allowing you to bypass perhaps the queues at check-in if you're only traveling with carry-on luggage that you don't need to actually physically print anything out. You can do everything through your smartphone device. This is an example of a tourism board partnering with a manufacturer. So the Malaysian Tourism Board partnered with Nokia to put Virtual Malaysia, the application, on multiple Nokia handsets. And again, similar to the destination guide that you would have on the Fairmont Hotel application, you can find out weather conditions, what to do, where to do it, recommendations on what to see. This is an app that was produced for the Museum of London using augmented reality, and it's a really cool idea. Street museum. So effectively, what you do is you turn this app on. It locates where you are in London, and as you can see there, it displays then various points of interest. Then you lift the app up, you select a point of interest that's near you, and it allows you to see here, and you can see the augmented reality element. Here's what you're actually looking at, and then it displays photographs of London from 20 years ago or 30 years ago or 50 years ago, or paintings of London from even further back in time. So really just a really interesting little application, very good implementation of augmented reality, and something that again a lot of tourism boards are looking at, because it's simple, easy to understand, clever, and the kind of thing that you will get people talking about. Foursquare, again, a lot of people will be familiar with Foursquare, Gowalla, Facebook Places, which is now launching in multiple different territories around the world. Foursquare allows you to check into locations, so whether it's coffee shops or hotels or airports or anything like that, and then you can earn a reward based on that. So the reward can range from a badge, so you can get the newbie badge for the first time you check in, the adventurer badge for when you've checked in 10 times, the local badge for when you've checked into a location multiple times, and then you can become the mayor of a location, which in certain places will allow you to receive, say, discounts. You might get 20% off your meal, or buy one drink get one free, various different things. And Foursquare have done some really interesting partnerships with media companies, and big events, and a lot of people talking about this kind of location based service as a really big way of generating revenues moving forward, particularly for small businesses, coffee shops, malls, different things like this that want to do deals, coupons, discounts for people who are in the area, and Facebook Places and Facebook Deals is another big part of that. One of the big areas in terms of investment and popularity and talkability at the moment is the whole area of photo sharing. And again, there are a number of applications. Instagram is one of the more popular ones. You've also got people like PicPlace, Path, obviously Facebook photos still being the big one, Flickr, various different things like this. Instagram allows you to just take a snap on your iPhone, click a little button to locate where you are. You then have a number of filters that you can place on it to make your photograph look like it was taken in the 1970s or taken on a Polaroid. Again, it's becoming massively popular, and they're now starting to engage with brands and different people looking at ways of generating revenue. And I certainly wouldn't rule out, photo competitions being a major part of that, and partnerships, let's say, with tourism boards to get the best photograph of London, New York, Kuala Lumpur, Dubai, Auckland, any of these places, and really interesting implementations. So you're only constrained by your imagination in terms of dealing with startups. Another company generating an awful lot of buzz, particularly in the US, and they've only recently kind of launched globally, is Scavenger, which is a company part funded by Google, and again, not dissimilar to Foursquare in the sense that you check into places, but there's another layer on top of that in terms of doing challenges. So you do effectively like a treasure hunt or a scavenger hunt, where you have to go and complete a certain amount of challenges or tasks, be it from checking into a location to taking a photograph to doing a social check-in, which might be checking into a location with 2 or 3 of your friends. You might have to go to a location and get a password, which you then enter into the application. So effectively, you're creating a challenge for people. You're forcing them to get out and about in your city or within your, institution or whatever it may be. Scavenger have partnered with, cities, small brands, bigger brands, retail outlets, sports teams. So it's all about, as they say themselves, doing challenges at places, discovering the world around you. And Scavenger is a really interesting company in terms of what they're doing and where they're moving to over the next while. Another way, obviously, that brands can get involved in applications without necessarily having to spend and develop an application themselves is by getting involved in sponsorship. So this is Time Out Dubai, obviously in association with Hilton. There have been multiple sponsorships like this. Time Out also did a partnership with Smirnoff in London. This is a loo finder, which is a very popular application in the UK, sponsored by Charmin, who obviously are manufacturer of toilet roll. So this obviously allows you to find nice loos if you're out and about and you don't want to risk going into a public facility, shall we say. So sponsorship, another big area in terms of mobile applications, and maybe a way of getting a brand associated with mobile without necessarily getting involved in actually building something yourself. So social, this is one of the key elements in terms of spreading the word about what you're doing. And obviously, if you spend money on building an application, you want people to know that it exists, and you obviously want people to tell their friends about it. So if you look, here are some screens from Sticky Bits, which is again not dissimilar to the Foursquare idea, except you're tagging actual objects. So you scan a barcode of a book or anything that's around you, a CD, DVD. You can tag it with where you are, what how you rate it, various different things, and you can share that obviously with Facebook. So you can log in with Facebook. This is an application that we did with for a festival in Morocco. Again, you could log in and connect with Facebook and Twitter and share information from within the app. So videos, blog posts, Twitter posts, events. Tell your friends that you're going to a specific event, and that would then show up obviously in their Facebook feed or within their Twitter stream. And again, if you want to share information, you can email it to people, SMS, Facebook, and Twitter. So it's important to have this in the back of your mind and in the front of the application in terms of making it social, because this is, if your application is good, the content is good, the design is good, a lot of the time the actual consumers will become promoters for you. So worth thinking about those things. Here are some things also that you should think about. This is a new media survey from last year. So when people look at why they should engage with a company or a brand or an agency or anyone using new media, these are the things that they look for, okay? And it's not good enough to just assume that someone is going to want to engage with your brand because it exists. Okay, so people look for incentives, free products, services, coupons, discounts. Okay, so they want something out of this relationship. They don't necessarily just want to be your friend on Facebook or download your app because they have a warm, fuzzy feeling in their stomach about you. They want something out of it. Okay, they want you to solve their problems, provide a product or service information. Again, this ties into, say, destination guides and maps and various different things like this. So you can solve their problem of finding their way around a city. You can solve their problem of finding a good place to go for breakfast, which is always my personal bugbear when you go to a new city, is trying to find a good place that serves a decent breakfast if you don't want to go to your hotel. Slightly fewer then start to be interested in things like getting feedback or giving feedback on products and services, being entertained, access to premium content. Again, it depends on exactly what you're offering. Develop new ways for people to interact with their brands and market to them. They're less interested in this. So really what you should be thinking about is, are you going to give people something? So free product or service, and I would emphasize the free element there. Rather than actually charging for an app, give it away for free. You'll get a much bigger audience. And are you going to solve their problems? Are you going to provide them with maps? Are you going to give them advice on what to do or what not to do or where not to go? So some very important things to think about there before you actually start looking at building a Facebook application or a iPhone or Android application. So this is a slide from one of our partners, Engage Sciences, and this is all about social web marketing campaigns, and this is equally applicable, of course, across mobile. I mean, really what you want to do is attract people in. So you want to try and get people to download your application or engage with you in some way, and that's the most important thing, is to get them to engage. And how do they do that? Well, it's obviously by going back to here. You're giving them an incentive. Are you offering them something? Is there a competition element? Are you solving a problem? And that's how you get them to engage. And then in terms of unleashing fans, well, obviously there's a level of what you can call social advocacy. So if I post something from within an application and my friends see that, they're obviously much more likely to download that application than they are, and that's a good way obviously for them to find out about it than just being seeing an ad or trying being marketed to in a different way. So again, we're thinking about all of these different areas, and again, do get in touch with us if you've got any questions about this, because we're always happy to talk about it. So there are problems as well that we need to address and that we need to look at. Okay, roaming charges are a big deal. So if you go on holidays to anywhere, whether it's the US or Europe or the Middle East or Australia or New Zealand, you're going to be faced with the issue of roaming charges. And roaming charges, when they relate to data, are even bigger. The reason I use the Wally slide here is and $62,000 is about an American guy who went on holidays, hooked his iPhone up to download Wally for his son to watch, and when he got home and checked his bill, his roaming charge for downloading, admittedly it must have been a 700 meg or one gigabyte file. His bill was $62,000, which is an astronomical amount of money for anyone to pay for one movie. So roaming charges are an issue, and people are concerned about them, and it is one of the stumbling blocks in terms of getting people to use these mobile apps when they're in another location. So part of that can be mitigated by Wi-Fi. Part of that is going to just come down to legislation. So already within the EU there are some discussions about roaming charges and the fact that they should be far less than they actually are. And we can expect these charges to go down over time. And also, people can now buy services, say like from Max Roam, which allows them to buy mobile phone service that they can use in multiple different countries. That's obviously an awful lot cheaper than using their traditional service. So there are these companies out there that are offering a service as a way to reduce your roaming charges for frequent travelers. Okay, the other big problem is Wi-Fi. It depends on what part of the world you're in, but in a lot of places Wi-Fi is either overpriced or just not available. So I recently stayed in a hotel where Wi-Fi access was $22 a day, which is obviously an extraordinarily high amount to pay for something that's relatively basic and that should be included in the price of a 4 or a 5-star hotel. In terms of lack of availability, again, that can be an issue depending on what part of the world that you're in. Again, most countries have at least an edge network that iPhones and Android phones can work on. The service is a little bit slower, but I think that there does need to be a more concerted effort by tourism boards, particularly, and hotels, to look at the whole area of Wi-Fi and Wi-Fi availability and pricing and so on. I mean, I think it's something that most people expect nowadays, and it's a shame when we don't necessarily see it. Discoverability is the big one for apps. So one of the big issues for people is, well, if you create an app that promotes tourism within a destination, well, how do people find it? It's not good enough to just use the kind of Kevin Costner Field of Dreams mantra that if you build it, they will come. You need to actually be an advocate and be out there and be promoting your application, be telling people about the fact that exists, because it is a needle in a haystack in a world where there are hundreds and hundreds of thousands of applications across multiple platforms, all vying for people's attention. You need to have a way of being discoverable, and a lot of that goes back to allowing your users to become advocates for what you do. But it is very important to bear that kind of stuff in mind, that just creating an app is not enough anymore. You do need to actually do something with it. You do need to give people a reason to download it. You do need to tell people that it exists, and it needs to be maybe part of a broader campaign. So conclusions. Okay, think about content first. Again, simply creating the flashiest looking app in the world that looks fantastic but that has no useful content, it might be opened once and then discarded. And more than 80% of applications are downloaded, used maybe once or twice, and then either never used again or just deleted. Part of the reason is that obviously content is absolutely useless. So do look at content, do think about what you're actually going to be offering people, what problem is it going to solve, what incentive do they have for actually using. Use existing tools, again, Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn. There are any number of blog creation places that you can create a blog very easily. There are any number of sites now where you can actually create applications at a reasonable cost. Whether that's white label or low cost options. There are any number of them out there now. And is this a more cost effective way for you to build an application rather than actually building something bespoke and spending a lot of money on it? Could you spend $1,500 or $2,000 on something very simple and use that to test the waters, and then obviously get a little bit of success, put a little bit more budget into version 2 and so on. So do think about white label and low cost options, and we work with people like Mobile Roadie, who are one of the biggest kind of white label mobile app providers, working with any number of brands and organizations around the world. And there are a bunch of companies doing similar things. Integrate your campaign to build buzz. So again, that comes back to discoverability. If you're going to actually have a campaign, you need to actually tell people that it exists. There's no point in assuming that somehow by some strange osmosis they will figure out that your campaign exists. You need to integrate it with your other branding and messaging and activation to let people know it exists. Okay, offer incentives. This is a big one. If you are going to do an application, or if you are going to run a Facebook campaign, think about giving people a reason to engage with it, whether it's sweepstakes, a giveaway, any number of little things. You'll frequently find that giving away the most banal, small-scale prizes will actually engage people and get them to tell their friends. So think about incentives and what you can do, and stay interested. I think that's one of the key things. If you're interested in what's happening in technology and what people are doing and where people are going and what people are talking about, then you're obviously going to be able to come up with new strategies yourself, or come up with new ways of engaging with these tools to drive more people to your destination, to engage with more people. And, don't be afraid to talk to companies like Urban, or your digital agency, or anyone like that, and email us or get in touch with us. And I mean, we're always open to giving people a little bit of advice here and there. And do stay tuned. I mean, we put these presentations up every so often as well, and we're hoping to start running a couple of regular webinars over the next while. But just bear those conclusions in mind if you're looking at a mobile or a social campaign. It's important to think about content. It's important to use what's already out there. Are there ways that you can do this a little bit cheaper, so that then version 2 or version 3 can be a bit more, you can add more bells and whistles? Is there a way that you can integrate this so that people will be aware of it, or that you can build buzz? Is there an incentive that you can offer, which obviously ties in with building buzz. And, do stay interested. Do read, blogs and TechCrunch and Mashable and the Next Web and Grid Skipper and all of these different things. I think it's a good way of staying engaged and staying interested. And as I say, you can find our contact information on the first slide at the start of this video. Do get in touch if you've got any questions. But that's it from me. I've been Eamonn Carey. Thank you very much for watching this little presentation. Have a nice day. Here's my contact information, I should say. If you do want to get in touch, telephone numbers and email addresses and Twitter and so on. So as I said, thanks very much. Hope you enjoyed it. If you've got any questions, don't hesitate to get in touch.